Okay, next, let's start. All right, so boys and girls, today we are looking at our lesson 34, and I see that some of you have already completed the questions for lesson 34 online. So good job to Brian, Jaslyn, Jerusha, Marissa, Pranyush, and Yutaka. Very, very good. Good on you guys. All right, today we are going to cover vocabulary cloze, visual text, and understanding tone and register. The main thing that we'll be covering is this understanding tone and register when we are performing our situational writing, right? So that we don't appear too rude and we don't appear too informal, right? But yet, we also don't want to appear too formal such that the person receiving it, right, feels like you're very distant from them, okay? In certain situations, like if you are writing to your grandma or your grandpa or your father or mother who are working overseas or something, it shouldn't be too formal. If not, it feels as if you don't know that person very well. You might hurt your mom's heart or you might hurt your grandma's heart and say, oh, when you were young, you were always, mama, mama, I love you, I love you. And then now you're so old, right? You don't call me mama anymore. You're just like, dear grandma. I don't like the way you address me anymore, right? So um, when we write for our situational writing, we got to be careful with our tone and register, but more on that later. All right, moving on. So these are our house rules. You guys should know. I've gone through it a few times already. Joshua is done. Very good. Have you sent it to my email address? Okay, here comes Yunshen. Yunshen. Where is Yunshen's name? I can't find her name. Chu Yunshen. All right, very good. Present. Okay. So same thing, please leave your cameras turned on all the time, all right? And please leave your microphones muted. If you want to say something, just raise your hand, all right? If you want to speak through your microphone, just, hold on, this thing is, okay. Please use, I hate this pen thing. All right, please raise your hand using Zoom, all right? And then I will give you permission to speak, then you can speak, all right, before speaking. If not, just leave yourself muted. If you have any questions, ask in the chat group. If you want to answer questions, answer in the chat group. If you want to share feedback, right, share feedback in the chat group. Same thing, if you want to go to the toilet, let me know, right, in the chat group. You don't need to wait for me to say, okay, no problem, go. Just go. All right, but the important thing is you need to leave your video on so that I know whether you're back from the toilet or not. If I catch you with your video not on and then you said you went to the toilet and you're not back yet, I will ask the team to call your parents and see what's happening with you at home. Okay? And lastly, of course, be mindful to be respectful to all students and teachers. Well, I'm the only teacher here anyway. Next. So let's begin with some light practices, vocabulary cloze MCQs, and visual text. So let's start. For vocabulary cloze, this is where we actually try to replace words that we are given, right, in a short paragraph and find the word that has the closest meaning to the word that they underlined as your question in your vocabulary cloze. So for the first one over here, all of you online got it correct, okay? But those of you who haven't attempted it yet, you might want to try. Which answer would you give for this question number 1? There was an old owl who lived in an oak tree. Rachel, you are correct. Jaslyn, you are correct. Good. Anyone else wants to try for question 1 here? What do you think the answer could be? What's a good word to replace old? Marissa, you're correct. Gladys is correct. Most of you should be able to get this one. Not too difficult. Give it a try, Felix. What do you think you can replace this with? How about Yunshen? What do you think you can replace this with? Gladys is correct. Jerusha is correct. Very good. How about the rest? What do you think we can replace old with? How about Howie? What do you think? Felix, you're correct. Good. And how about Brian? Oh, Brian answered it online already. Good. I have your correct answer. Yunquan, that's right. Okay, so the best answer here is actually elderly. Okay, so elderly should be your answer here. When you say someone is old, you say that they are elderly. So when we look at the seats in the train and in the bus, there's always a sign there that says, please give up your seat to the elderly, those who are pregnant with a disability, or are like with kids and children, right? So that's elderly for you. Now, what are the meanings of the other words? Now, we definitely know what young means. I don't need to go through that. And if someone is behaving in a childish manner, right? Normally it means they are behaving in a way that's very immature. All right, very childlike, when they are actually not children anymore. You cannot call a child childish. All right, so because you are a child, so I think I draw the line at primary 6. When you go to sec 1, right, then I will start using the word childish in sec 1. I'll be like, can you not be so childish, right? But since you're in primary 5, you can still be childish because you are technically still a child. Go ahead, Yunquan. Don't need to let me know. Just go, but keep your video turned on so that I know when you're back. Okay. Now the question here is, what's a greenhorn? In gamer terms, all right, in slang, okay, don't use this in your official writing. In slang, right, a greenhorn is what we call a noob. All right. I'm not sure whether you've heard of the gaming term noob before, but a greenhorn is basically you use it to describe a person who does not have any experience in something. In other words, a greenhorn is a beginner. Okay? So you might be playing a game with someone online, and then that person keeps dying. And because that person keeps dying, right, the entire team loses a lot of points to the other team. And then someone asks, hey, what's up with this guy? Why does he keep dying to the enemy? He keeps getting killed by them so easily. Then someone else in the chat might say, he's a greenhorn. You got to forgive him, right? So a greenhorn is a beginner, basically. Or maybe you are in art class and then someone does a horrible job and you're wondering, how can this person join this class? Like, this person seems to never have painted before in his entire life. Then someone besides you will say, don't mind him, he's a greenhorn. Gotta forgive him. He just started. All right, so that's what greenhorn means. Next, number 2. All right, everyone who did it online got it correct, but how about those who did not? Yesterday, he watched as a young boy helped an old man carry a heavy basket. What's a good word to replace watched over here? Rachel, you're correct. Jaslyn, you're correct. Yunquan, you're right. Pranyush, you're correct. Felix, you are right. Good job to everyone who's replied so far. Who else? Brian, you are correct. Good. How about Howie? And who else hasn't answered yet? Yeah, the rest have answered. How about Yutaka has answered as well. Marissa, you are correct. Good. Any ideas, Howie? Yes, you are correct as well. Good. So everyone got this correct, basically. When you're watching someone do something, the best word to replace it is observing. You're observing that person, you're watching that person. It has the same meaning, right? Take note that when you observe or watch, you don't just do it once, you do it for an extended period of time. And therefore, when you say gaze, gaze is wrong, because gaze, it happens. Hold on, when you gaze at something, oh no, you can't say it happens too fast. Let me just erase this. Okay, but when you gaze at something, it's very similar to staring. All right, so when you gaze or you stare, you could be in a state where you are not thinking, or you are not paying attention. So, for example, I could have a sentence that says, during the boring mother tongue lesson, Brian gazed off into the distance, right? Imagining a world of dragons and magic or something. Yeah. Or I could say, Marissa stared at the ceiling in absolute boredom, hoping that the lesson would be over soon, that kind of thing. So that would be like stared, like just like, you don't really think much. Okay. And when you spied, obviously you are not spying over here. Okay. When you spy, it's also observing, but you're observing in order to get information about an enemy or person of interest. Then you spy, right? So and you are also doing it in a sneaky way. But over here, the author is obviously just outright staring at the young boy helping the old man. He wasn't doing it in a sneaky way. So number 2, the best answer is definitely B. Moving on. Heavy basket over here. For this one, everyone who answered online got it correct, except for you, Taka. You might want to choose another answer. Rachel, you're correct. Okay. Brian, you're correct. Pranyush, you're correct. Good. Howie, you are right. Excellent. Anyone else wants to give me an answer to try over here? So what's a good word for heavy? Gladys, you are right. Very good. Yunshen as well. So a good word to replace heavy over here is actually, yes, Yutaka, you are right. It's actually hefty. When we say something is hefty, all right, it means it is weighty. Weighty is not actually a real word, but basically it just means heavy. Something is hefty, it takes a lot of effort to heft it up, so it's hefty. All right. Thick, dense, and solid doesn't mean it's heavy, right? It just means things are closely packed together. Yeah. So for example, I hold a can of sardines, right? When I open the can of sardines, you will see that the sardines are being packed very densely within the can. But is a can of sardines actually heavy or hefty? No, but it is packed very densely. Or if something is very thick, right? But it could not be heavy at all. So for example, you could say that your blanket is very thick, right? It keeps you warm. But when you fold it, you realize it's not very heavy actually, right? So that's another example. When something is solid, solid is when atoms are packed very closely together. And so in the way that they are packed closely together as well. So a solid is compared to a liquid, which is compared to a gas, and those are your 3 forms of matter. Okay, so that's for your question 3. Today, he saw a young girl shouting at her mother. The more he saw, the less he spoke. So the he over here is the old owl, right? So he saw people being kind, which is the young boy helping the old man. So he saw someone being kind. And he saw a young girl shouting at her mother. He saw someone being rude. All right. And the more the owl saw, the less the owl spoke. No worries, Siran. I'm glad you could join us today. Always in time if you're here for a lesson. No worries. Okay, let's continue.